following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out.
Believe it.
Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Keep following the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it, this is where it goes down. I just happen to come up hard. Legal or illegal, baby, I gotta make it.
I never took a straight path nowhere. Life's full of twists and turns, bumps and bruises. I live, I learn. I'm from that city full of yellow cabs and skyscrapers. It's hard to get a start in these parts without paper. Homie, I grew up in hell, a block away from heaven. That corner 15 minutes, it move a 7. Pure snow, bag it then watch it go. Occupational options, get some blow or some hoe. Shoot the ball of the strap, learn the rap or the jack. Good man, in the meantime, go ahead and pump a pack. This my Regal Royal flow, my James Bond bounce. That 007, that 62 on my count. I'm an undercover liar, I lie under the covers. Look up in the eyes and tell her, baby, I love it. You're my inspiration, you're my motivation. You're the reason that I'm moving with no hesitation.
Welcome back into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You're locked into hour 2. You know, we had a conversation last night, Trent, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
What happened? What part?
What happened? What part?
What hour was it?
So, I don't recall.
Because you know I'll be listening on the low secretly.
And I appreciate that. Shout out to the support.
Spying in the chat room and stuff.
In the building.
I don't be saying that, no.
I appreciate it.
It ain't my night.
It ain't your night. I appreciate you tapping in. That's what friends do. So, I was talking about there have been some TikTok videos, right, that some black women and some others have released where they said that they used to be ashamed to admit that they didn't like going to the hood, that they were afraid when they go to the hood, that when they go to the hood and see too many people gathered, they move, they aren't comfortable there. And they used to be embarrassed about it, but now they feel like it's okay to speak on it. And people are hitting them back saying that that is anti-black behavior. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that. Thought-provoking?
Yeah, it is. Is it anti-black behavior? Because we have to think about it. Everybody that's black does not have a hood experience. And unfortunately, the idea is that black people have more of a struggle experience or more of a hood experience than they do not, right? But there are people that did not grow up hood at all or hood adjacent.
Right.
And they have a different perspective. So if they're not interested or they've seen anything remotely close that's relatable to have, to find something to go like or whatever, or didn't go visit their cousins or any of that, then that's not their experience. So I could understand that. But for a person like myself who's had both sides of the spectrum and kind of grew up with like a broad understanding that there are different people, there are rich people, there are poor people, and I'm grateful that I had access to all of that growing up. So I get both sides of it.
Well, so here's the thing, and I think this is part of why people also added in anti-black. It's not so much maybe that, at least in one case, that she wasn't, like, she might have even grown up, in the hood. She says, it's just not someplace she wants to be, someplace she wants to go back to. Blase blah.
I get it.
She says she's not with it. Like, for me, the example that I brought up is not so much just from a hood perspective, and this might be a woman thing, but if, like, I go to the gas station and there's a gathering of men, I don't care if they're white, black, Latino, mixed, I may not feel comfortable.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, oh, I'm going to move around. I'll get gas elsewhere if there's an option, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with the race or the hood, just, rowdy groups. If they're younger, if they're, because sometimes when young kids link up together, I know what it's like to be a young kid.
turn up,
you
right.
just out there having a good time,
Wild and free.
being foolish, but sometimes y'all are foolish on the wrong night. I don't really want to be around that type of energy, And again, it's not so much a black thing or even that per se. I feel they're doing something wrong, but it's not something I'm gonna, come from like, oh, they kids out here. Time for me to skirt. Do you know? So I think sometimes I understand why we react the way that we do, but sometimes it's just like, look at our rising crime rates and things like that. Just look at the things that go on. Maybe they should have termed it differently or deemed it differently. I don't know what part of the country they were
It's a layered topic. Number one, I don't think it's some of it is anti-blackness, some of it is classism as well.
Classism.
It's elitism. It's all these things. And sometimes when people have hood experiences and they don't want to, because of whatever reason, they want to get far away from that as possible because they did not like the experience and they don't want to be remotely related to anything that's hood. I get that too. But I always say, there's a saying, always good in the hood. There's going to be a point in time where we are going to have to come back to the hood or need the hood for something.
Hood check-in.
Yeah.
Andy?
And you better be good in the streets.
The person speaking, was this person black?
They were two black young ladies, yeah,
and
probably in their 20s.
And the people commenting, were they black? Basically saying that it was anti-black?
Mm-hmm. For the most part.
I don't see how they get anti-black from them statements, especially, I'm just assuming this person is from the hood who spoke about it.
One was, the other I'm not really sure of.
Yeah, those who are saying that those are anti-black sentiments, I'm going to assume that they didn't grow up in the hood.
I think it's hard. Excuse me. I think it's difficult because it's something, we've been having a conversation around lately about making moves for the greater good versus your individual pursuits and that so forth. And I think one thing that has happened since the civil rights movement and as we have gained more ground, our individual needs have come up more and more. And sometimes that can look like selfish to other people or leaving behind or, putting some of the same type of jackets perhaps that we've seen other races put on us. It feels like it, but it's a deeper conversation. Like I saw someone say, why is it that right now black people seem so in support of ratchet behavior and the freedom to do that? Does that really represent most of us as black people? Probably not, but we push for the idea
and
for
not
that
all of us
to
do.
be freedom for that. That's what seems to be pushed in the forefront as far as, currently with media. I want to hear what Andy has to say. I want to hear what Trent has to say on this topic when we come forward more on this topic and trending topics. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
If you say you care about the community, you have to also care about the climate. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey. Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So Trent and Andy, both of you had some commentary about the anti-blackness of the women and where we're going. About the comments. Trent?
Do they have natural hairstyles?
So here's the thing. One girl, she talked about how, women were always mean to her in there. She didn't say what they looked like.
Okay, so you have some bad experiences on some hood girls, and now you want to penalize the whole hood. I get it.
And there were people that were saying that really it's not that these people are fearful. It is that they want to feel better than the behavior and try to separate themselves from it. And I don't know if it's that. I mean, you have to think that sometimes there is some, like I mentioned, young kids. If you're dealing with young teens are going to be teens, right? They're going to act out. There's some things that they're just going to do. So if I move around from that, that doesn't mean, if they're black, I'm anti-black. It just means I don't want to move around.
I think it's just weird for other black people to say that, because no matter how much money you have, you always have a hood cousin that you go over there on Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you have a good time because you get to cut loose and do stuff that you ain't did at your house or all that. So stop playing around and get with the program.
Facts. Andy?
I just don't see how it's anti-black.
Because they're saying that, they are acting the same way. If a white person made that statement, I'm just not comfortable when I go to certain neighborhoods and these people around, we would be outraged. We would be in an uproar. We would tell them to chill out. So if you are a black person exhibiting those same behaviors, they feel like you're trying to be bourgeois or run from your people or separate yourself.
We're a sensitive people.
I love being bourgeois.
Because even black people can't even be critiques of their own culture.
Just be yourself. I love being hood and I love being bougie.
I mean, there are with everything there are things to love and things that you're like not so much, right?
And listen, we do it all the time. Black people are anti-black all the time with their hood stances, because guess what? If someone says right now, oh yeah, can you drop me off on like Normandy and Manchester? The first thing you're going to say is, what? I ain't going over there.
Facts! Oh!
Man.
That's too far, or I ain't doing that.
Right now, at night?
Especially like me. You live off of Crenshaw and Coliseum or, Leimert Park somewhere. Oh, I don't cross Western. Now what? I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't.
So
go
we're
below
anti-black
the 10.
all the time. Oh, I only shop at the Century City Mall, the Beverly Center only. Are you kidding? Cut it out. Black people need to stop. We are anti-black and elite all the time because as soon as we cross Crenshaw and move to the Dons, we think we doing something.
Man, I can't go to Crenshaw and Slauson.
Right. You live right around the corner. As soon as you drive out of Ladera, you're driving right into the hood. As soon as you drive out the Dons, you're driving right into where? The jungle. Stop playing.
I had a friend back in my high school years.
I've had enough.
I picked him up from somewhere or whatever, and we was literally, he's in the car, and we're driving past a certain neighborhood, and you know what he does? He ducks. I'm like, bro, we in the car. He just like, nah, man, I don't even want to be seen. Like, bro, we are moving.
Listen, I make a joke all the time with my friends. Don't drive me down Manchester for any reason. Okay? For nothing. And if you driving me on Manchester, I'm irritated. It's just a joke because we know Manchester's raggedy stuff goes on, but it's not. I'm not running from it because if we gonna be technical, if you're from LA, everybody's family originates from the other side of the freeway. Because we couldn't even live over here until what 19 to the 60s anyway. So don't act like you don't have roots on the east side or didn't grow up on the other side of the freeway or something.
And for I'm gonna say for the men, there's certain men who feel that they need to protect themselves when they step out. Why do they feel the need to do that? They know their circumstances, they know their surroundings. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just a matter of protection.
Right.
So for that lady saying what she said on TikTok or whatever, to me it sounds like somebody who wants to just protect themselves.
Right. I mean, I understand, like I said, some parts of it, I tend to think about youth or, all types of things. Smash and grab. We're going to talk about the smash and grab in a second. Prester John says, there are some fine, well-adjusted honeys in the hood. People need to grow up and stop stigmatizing working class black folks. I do agree with that.
Yes.
Crystal Waite says, was it a safety issue or just I ain't going? It was both.
It was more of I ain't going.
Yeah,
those people over there. Girl, please.
Shout out to Mila Wilson. She says, my church is near Manchester and Normandy. I just hollered. No, that's right.
Question for you, Jill and Trent.
Yeah.
You familiar with Crenshaw and Florence?
Yeah.
Are you going to go get some gas 2 o'clock in the morning?
Absolutely not.
What are we talking about, the Arco or the Mobile?
The Arco.
Oh, definitely. I've done it before.
Not me.
Oh, I've done it before.
And why is that, Jill?
I do not feel safe in that environment.
Any other particular reasons why?
I mean, just in general, I don't want you don't talk to me. I don't know what's going on there. It could be one of them nights somebody run up and snatch your phone, your wallet. I'm not saying it happens all the time.
I'm not playing with you.
But things happen. Like I said, if I, as a woman, right, am going to get gas late at night, sometimes people are gentlemanly if there are men there, or whatever, but it's still unnerving as a woman. And sometimes just because, that's probably not the best moment to shoot your shot. Don't shoot your shot, as a matter of fact, in that. You just going to have to be 2 ships passing in the night.
I'm sorry, Jill. Nature. You're being anti-black right now, though.
Oh.
I mean, and again, like I said, I understand why people say that, but it's not about that, because if it was a white guy, feel the same way. It doesn't, for me, that is not about race and, I'd feel safer. That is just about surroundings.
A safety issue is a safety issue. And you're right. It could be the same thing for me on Florence and Crenshaw. What hood you from?
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I was like, why are you going?
And I'm just pumping gas in why am I going? Why am I getting gas from Crenshaw and Florence at that? Because I'm just leaving somebody's house. That's why.
Oh, well. Okay.
And I'm on my way home. Now what?
I say I wouldn't be. Mm-hmm. I would not be.
Yeah. That's where all the actions come from. Florence. Listen, you good. You got to be good in the hood.
Prester John says, that's half the dudes I grew up with. K.E. Smith says, nah, I don't have East Side origins.
Oh, really? Okay.
Crystal Waite says, Eastie. Man, that used to be the term
Eastie,
back in the day.
Yes.
Eastie and ethnic.
Eastie.
Those are definitely not PC.
Yeah.
In the current sense.
I still use Eastie.
Urban Spencer says, note, Eastie at K. Smith. I haven't heard that in years. DJ Black 909 says, bring back Vine. It'll be safer than TikTok after the government is done with it. We're about to talk about that.
Vine was only 15 seconds.
Right. TikTok is running out of time, but I do believe Vine could bring back the times 100. We'll see how this process goes. I don't think there's any bringing back Vine. And Urban Spencer says no late night gas trips, Costco only, and they close around 8 o'clock.
They sure do, and I'm annoyed by that.
I know, that's right. Prester John says, we all had that cousin who pulled up in a Monte Carlo with the headliner flapping, talking about, come ride with me.
Sure did have one. I still have one right now.
I
in a Monte Carlo dipping.
But I had friends who had cousins and brothers and stuff like that. So,
Adjacent, yeah.
Have had, again, some experiences, but I'm going to go home. As we've talked about, I know when to go home, and I know when to say no, thank you. So let's get on this TikTok thing, because there is a lot of conversation about it, about whether or not it is the government just trying to take away a source of information. And in a time when so much media is being consolidated or going away, people said that they don't like that there's no way to get propaganda in on TikTok. I don't know if I agree with that, but I feel where you're coming from. I feel what you're putting down. You think that they are being restrictive. So basically, as we know, the House has passed a bill that Biden put forward to ban TikTok in the United States unless ByteDance, their parent company, sells TikTok to a company that probably U.S.-based, but at the very least does not have ties to the Chinese government. Their TikTok, if you notice, if you've ever read the terms of service, you give them full access to your entire phone. They can go through it. They can use your photos. They can do a lot of things. You're giving them a lot of privileges to utilize the app, right? And most people aren't going to read through that. Most people don't care. They're like, whatever, I'm just, going to put it out there. But there are some real concerns. Remember, we had the steel balloon thing with the China. There's definitely something happening on the international front. We know China and Russia are like bad chicks link up and let's take down this mark that they think the U.S. is and all of those things. So there's a lot of moving parts, right? But creators and, younger people feel that the reason why the U.S. wants to get a handle on TikTok is because of the dissemination of information that comes from it. They feel that the algorithm is looser. It probably was. I think that is changing because TikTok is moving away from short form content into more long form content. So I think the things that they are looking for is changing. But also, they feel like, people that are, we talk about conspiracy theories on here all the time. And I always say, you got to believe at least one, right? You can't trust everybody wholly. You got to believe at least one conspiracy theory. But they think that, that is why the government wants to take it out, to block being able to spread information on these different topics and things of that nature. I do think that it's kind of crazy that not so much that you use TikTok as an informational resource, but that it is your only and first one, and there's no fact checking in it. But, neither here nor there. So, Andy, I see you got some commentary. What are your thoughts?
I just don't understand it. I mean, like, doesn't America do business with China? Don't a lot of our products come from there? Or let me just say some of our products come from there. And then you worried about
they did they're especially following COVID, but even before that, a lot more business was being shifted to Korea, South Korea, because of some of these reasons. They thought China, as far as some of the products and the systems and things of that nature, we become too dependent on them. That was part of some of the things that initially Donald Trump had said. Biden has said something similar,
I just feel like our own government is spying on us too.
They are.
So, y'all over here worried about China and stuff like that. I mean, if y'all gonna ban TikTok, Instagram, there's a lot of toxicity on Instagram. It's a lot of toxicity on X. I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense to me.
They also talk about the fact that, the algorithm is very different from China to the U.S. The things that are shown in the U.S. would not be able to be shown in China. It's more educational based. So they feel like also it's a takedown of our kids. It's the dumbing down of America, blah, blah, blah. It's already happening. And this is, accelerating it. Trent.
It's all crap. First of all, there's so many layers to this. This was like the last app that was unchanged or untapped, so to speak. So it was bound to happen at some point. Do I think that the government is intervening for nefarious reasons? Don't they always?
Potentially, yeah.
So let's look at it this way. It's one of the fastest mediums to disseminate information. Okay. It is a high volume revenue generator for Black content creators. You merge those two principles, just take those two, and you've got a recipe for a takedown or a recipe for...
So let me ask you, do you believe that although, they do, they are not the highest volumes as far as who's generating revenue?
It's made a lot of Black people money, and it's opened a lot of avenues for Black creators to generate more income. Look at Keith Lee. We didn't know who he was until TikTok.
That's true. There are a lot of people, obviously, there have been the conversations about the white creators taking stuff that Black creators have created on places like TikTok and the algorithm not being as kind to those same Black creators. So that's why I asked the question.
But isn't that with anything that we do? Everything that we do is racially unequal. It always favors other people than any minority. Like, let's just be real. Like, come on. So that's BS, and it's a bogus thing. You have to understand. Well, I don't even want to say that, but the last comment I was gonna go. I looked down and I said I'm not gonna say it because somebody's already said it in the chat. So just go with what Prester John has just said.
Oh, well, we're going to run down Prester John's comments on the other side because he has a lot of input. I told you guys that YouTube chat is always bubbling. So listen, when we come forward, we'll have more on this TikTok topic and get your thoughts in. There's a lot to say and ponder about it. Mm-hmm. All of that and more on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
My cocaine endeavors give me corporate ties. I'm supposed to lose, watch me win against the odds. All I got is my word and my instinct. I'm trying to make it. We already made it, my friends think. We already on top. I got a bigger plan. No more controlled substances or hand to hand. White collar visions, game changing mission. Big risks, big wins equal bigger living. Perfect position, watch me transition from caterpillar to butterfly in the sky.
This is a big rich town. The poet's part. Bright light, city life. I gotta make it. This is where it goes down. I just happen to come up.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The FDNY is investigating who heckled at New York Attorney General Letitia James at a graduation ceremony last week. The booing was loud and prompted the Attorney General to say, "Come on, we're in the house of God." The heckling sounded well orchestrated rather than spontaneous, with Trump chants interrupting James's remarks. The FDNY wants to get to the bottom of it. It's got clear video of the event, but issued an internal memo saying that those who gave Letitia James an icy welcome would be better off stepping forward rather than being hunted down. The NAACP wants Black student athletes to reconsider if they're thinking of enrolling in a predominantly white institution in Florida. The organization yesterday sent a letter to the NCAA president, Charlie Baker. NAACP leaders are protesting the state's law requiring schools to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. They claim that Republican governor and former presidential candidate Ron DeSantis has been wagging war on Black America. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary hair? Visit your local SoCal FS Cut and Color salon today and let their team of expert stylists pamper you with affordable luxury. Get a free shampoo with every cut. Book your appointment today at fantasticsams.com.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Follow the leader.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Who's watching me?
Welcome back into hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to Andy. Andy is always on theme. You know, TikTok, Instagram, your phone, Siri, Amazon Echo, all of it. Look, Siri just turned on right now.
Oh my God, mine did too. I looked down like, what is going on? Don't even say it.
All of them. They're listening.
Turn it off.
And
I hate
so, you know, that's how that one goes down right there. They both went off at the same time. That's completely hilarious.
I don't like it. They're probably talking to each other without us knowing.
They are listening. You're gonna see.
I'm talking about our phones. They're talking to each other.
I know. You're gonna see ads for like I don't know, Sunday Riley and stuff like that. Things that I love. The chat, like I said, the chat is always bustling. Pretty Brown Mimi says the Republicans want to ban TikTok because it's a Chinese-owned company and too many black creators are making money. I'm very suspicious of it all. Forensic Accountant says ban it. They essentially ban, is it Huawei? I'm unsure of how to pronounce that. Huawei phones for the same reason. Prester John says all of Wall Street does vigorous business with China. Crystal Waite says, I feel like they want to ban it because too many people are making money on there and giving out info. The economy, in quotes, is suffering because more people are becoming independent business owners. They lose control. And Prester John adds, the U.S. government has largely outsourced data collection on U.S. citizens to private corporations. This is fact. And Forensic Accountant says, I still don't know who he is. He's talking about Keith Lee. The only Keith Lee I know played basketball for Memphis State in the 80s.
I'm not doing this right now.
How old are you, Forensic Accountant?
Who are you is the real question.
Who are you?
He has no social media. We have to email him.
Right.
Can you email us so we can be friends?
And shout out to that. Prester John says he loves the horn on that track. And K.E. Smith says, I admit to not having TikTok because I don't trust the Chinese, but it is better to educate people on what they are giving them access to and letting them decide for themselves versus banning. I think that, you know, it's already, as far as government phones with certain states and things of that nature, I think federal government as well, they can't have TikTok on those phones. I don't think anybody reads any of those agreements that they sign to really understand the privileges that they're giving away. So to that degree, it kind of doesn't matter, but you kind of should know, you know? You kind of should know that it's not just what you post. It's really everything in your phone. At least be aware. You know, that's what I'm saying. Shout out to Renia Black. Thank you for tapping in and checking in. We appreciate that. Renia says the internet and whoever has our information, not too much more you can do with name, address, and phone numbers and email. That's what's already being done, in my opinion. I think, well, it's bigger than that. It is, you know, where you're going, what you're moving to. They're deciding what to market to you. Then it's like, how much of the algorithm do you want in control of your life? Are they sending things to you that you just like? Or now does it become an issue of programming? You know, I think there's all type of ethical conversations I feel that go along with social media in general. That, listen, the documentaries and docuseries that are going to come on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and X, especially from like 2008, 2009 through this period, are going to be simply amazing. I think they're going to be right up there with the other documentaries that are going to happen to all of those kids whose families put them on YouTube, and there's no child labor laws with that. Those things, crazy.
You know, I strongly feel that we have all participated in the programming of AI and robots with social media. And 100%. I think TikTok was the main front for that.
That's interesting.
AI programming, and now that they've got all the AI programming they need, they're done with it.
Well, I mean, you know, people have been talking about the changes to TikTok as far as the algorithm and how it's working and whatever. So I don't know if there's something that can replace it.
That TikTok algorithm is something. I don't even have like 2 followers or something. I have like very like minimal followers, under 100. My videos always get like 1,000 views. It's wild.
Because it's so loose. And it's like with TikTok, it is not a social media where people are too caught up in who they follow per se. They're just interested in the scroll and the content. So if you get in the right way,
which is also wild because like, what are you scrolling and taking? There's so much content at this point. One of these things needs to break just to reset people.
I mean, you saw what happened the other day when Facebook and Instagram went down.
They people went crazy. It was so funny to me. It's like it's wild because in my mind, 50-year-olds who are losing their mind over social media is like, what are you doing? There was a point in time where you did not have a phone or any of this stuff. So
escapism, it's different now. It's a whole new thing. People can create their own environments. They can create echo chambers. It's escapism from whatever they might be in day to day that they need a break from. You're funny. Kendi in the chat says, it's a simple matter of national security. Sea, land, air, space, and cyber are all domains that need securing.
Andy, please. You know what? Y'all didn't hear what happened. Andy back there in that glass. Get on the mic and say that, Andy. With your fancy degree, since you know everything.
Duh.
I do think, though, that with TikTok, because, they talked about how a bunch of TikTokers, people in general, flooded the senators' voicemails and emails and things of that nature. I do think, to a degree, though, people don't really realize, and I get it, they can get some of this information from everywhere and do it, but we don't know what they're going to do with it. I feel like maybe because I'm Gen X and I remember the time, before the Berlin Wall came down.
Oh, wow. Wasn't that a moment?
It was.
That was a moment. Wow.
Like all of those
that.
Things, I remember Cold War things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that protecting our national security, I know that it's wild, wild west out there, but I do think that there are some handles that need to be tapped into. Andy?
I'm all about, securing the border and all that jazz, but how do you feel about your own government spying on you, though?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like there are things of that nature because, listen, because of social media, cell phones, things of that nature, we are on camera much more willingly. There's so much information about us and our habits that other people have access to. There are people that, and entities that know more about us than we probably know about ourselves at times.
That's
just by
why
our phone activity.
I like to troll sometimes because I know that they're watching and I know that they're keeping a file and I confuse them on purpose. It's like, he's doing what? It's like, exactly, girl, I am doing it and I'm enjoying it.
Right. Not really. You better think about that. Move cautious.
Yeah.
Make sure you're hearing what you're hearing and seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah.
When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
Are you tired of being stuck without internet access? Connect and go with LA County Library. It's simple. Visit your local LA County Library location and borrow a hotspot for free to get Wi-Fi wherever you are.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long.
We're unapologetically progressive.
KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are talking about TikTok and the potential ban of it. The bill has been passed by the House, not by the Senate yet. ByteDance has approximately 6 months, I believe, should it officially pass, to decide what they are going to do, if they're going to sell. I wonder what happens in that instance. Is it just that Apple has to remove it and Google Play from their stores? Is it automatically wiped out of your phone? How does that work? Forensic Accountant says it's a great time to give China a taste of their own medicine. They have been restricting access to websites and apps for as long as the internet has existed. True, they didn't allow Twitter. They had, Weibo? Was their version of Twitter, and all of their stuff is monitored. And, it's a different government, different way of life. That's, how we will leave that for them. Prester John says, Farday box for these phones. I'm not sure what that means.
It's like an electronic signal blocker.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. But then you have to carry it with you. How big is it?
No, it's like blocking other people from getting into like where you're it blocks the signals.
Right, but if you take your phone with you on the go, because you could be.
It's for your house.
Okay.
Mostly.
So there's no portable version.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might have one. I don't know about that one. It's like for rooms, high secure rooms.
I got you. All right, and
a cage.
Renia Black says they're saying that about all the platforms that algorithms have changed. Well, they do frequently update them and make changes to them. They tweak them, one, because they want to increase the time that users are staying within the app. That is the main goal, so they can show you more ad revenue and, get you that way, get you on the endless scroll. But even things like Google, the things that when you Google, as the years have gone by, you are exposed to less and less on Google because of updates that they do to the algorithm, how they determine search. And now with AI coming in, they're going to try and give you summaries and then put the pages underneath so that is your first layer that you go to get information from. So, I mean, it sounds crazy to think, but really, we're in a time where how, when, and where you get your information from is going to be crucial because, the old institutions are crumbling and changing, and we don't know what's going to happen. Forensic Accountant says, and since when did China become friendly with black folks? They're just as bad as Westerners in their treatments of Africans. Prester John says, TikTok, thou art loosed. That's funny. Shout out to the David Talbert play that he is referencing. Pretty Brown Mimi is shouting out all the Gen Xers that are in the chat. She loves it. Shout out to Adam Milan. Thanks for joining us. And Renia Black said Jill Scott said they were watching her 20 years ago. Listen, they've been watching us. LimeWire. They saw all of that happening. Everything that was going on. We're changing. It's a lot happening. Prester John adds, our national security is either failing or in bed with China. The Biden family receives, this is according to Prester John, these are not the views of anyone here. The Biden family receives tens of millions from Chinese corporations over the past 15 years. See Penn Biden Center and Patrick Ho. Kendi says you don't want an adversarial country brainwashing your population. Information warfare is real. Who's the adversarial country?
Kendi, you voting for Trump? You sound like a Republican, dog.
Ooh, we'll get into that. And, you know, I just think the reality is information, how it's used, how we're receiving it, where it's coming from, and really how to fact check it is changing at a rapid pace. And, of course, these things are happening in an election year. So, you know, what does that mean? Does that mean we are going to be inundated with false info? Does that mean that people that are trying to get the truth out there are going to be blocked? It's a big year and it's a lot happening, and technology is so much more of a factor than we probably ever would have imagined. Andy?
Once again, I just feel like, you know, we're highlighting TikTok so much, but we act like information can't be shared on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter.
But I guess, is it the aspect of, because we know it is, and it has been, and there is a detriment that has happened to people as far as privacy, and we've gotten into, but it is the fact that a communist country is gaining some of this information, and we don't know what they're doing with it. We've seen how they move. For example, there's a lot of conversation about the amount of real estate that the Chinese government, the Chinese own now in Africa, how they own some different phases of like electrical grids or things like that, things that they're in business with. So I guess the question too is, we know here in America, I mean, not all the way, but at least we think they're just trying to sell us stuff and break us down from the inside out and make us poor, right? We don't really know, in theory, what the Chinese government is doing with that information. And then we have to look to the fact of how much things were manipulated in our election just a few years ago, right? And how are they gleaming some of that information and utilizing it to put that out there to create these bots that mimic what they believe are, you know, Black people or Latinos or whomever, or, you know, the right wingers or whomever those people are, to try and agitate. Those bots, like you said, have to be trained on something. Forensic Accountant says, leave the phone on the dresser when you're riding mean, because the cell tower ping will put you on the scene. So a little hip hop lyrics to say the streets is watching. Renia Black says Trump paid more taxes to China than the United States. And Kendi says, oh, Kendi, our little Kendi, I don't vote at all since it doesn't really matter. Listen. What I will ask of you, Kendi, because I like you, at least vote in your local elections. I understand if maybe you don't want to get into the big government scheme of things and you feel that doesn't matter. Your local elections, those, you know, rulings that are passed, those different things, who your DAs are, who your judges are, measures that are passed, those things affect your day-to-day life in more ways than, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't vote in the national election, but I am saying at least I understand, but you should at least get involved in that way, because civic duty, especially as far as your neighborhood, this is where you have to live. These are things that affect your day-to-day life in a huge, huge way. So at least take that step. I would appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate your voice. I know that you are a young man, and we appreciate having you here. That would just be my one request from you, and I hope you do it. Shout out to you. Local elections are important, like Renia Black says. Shout out to that, man.
I gotta low-key blame the media, though, too, at the same time.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking, I'm not talking about us, because I know here at KBLA we talk about local stuff or whatnot.
We do.
But I
check
think,
our climate justice survey right now.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, there's not a huge highlight on local elections.
It isn't.
You know what I'm saying? Like the news, they're going to talk about the presidency more so.
But here's the thing, isn't that because of the breakdown of local media too? If you think about it, newspapers losing staff, the local news, they're cutting back, they're getting into automated things. So there aren't those people as many, unless that's why a station like KBLA is so important, boots on the ground to check in, to tap in, to hit those corners and traps and say, hey, this is what's really going on out there.
I think before that, like I remember growing up, I would watch the news from time to time, even as a kid, but I don't remember a focus on local election. Even when local KABC, I don't know. I just remember the focus being more so on the presidents as opposed to, who's going to be your local DA or whatnot. I just don't remember seeing that on the news growing up.
I think it was there. A lot of news, we have lost a lot of newspapers. You know what I mean? And those type of employees. So I think that it is something that, is important. And we are seeing changes in how all that is structured. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to have more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about Karrueche Tran and her OnlyFans thing and then her taking it back. Listen, it's hard out here for kids.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that. Are we being too judgmental? Shout out to Amon Deasy, someone smarter than me said, if voting mattered, it would have been made illegal a long time ago. I don't know about that, but we'll talk about all of that and more on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest